And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene, our first show for the month of November. Because of severe weather forecast this past week, we had to shut our program down in terms of on-site. So we're doing it by video Zoom for you this evening. We've got a great lineup, though, for you. Big Al Jerkens, longtime Tulsa sportscaster, talks about the local sports scene and also his heartbreak of the New York Yankees. He's a long-time, lifelong Yankee fan. Talk to him all about that, and he'll talk about the college football season here in Oklahoma. ESPN's John Anderson just retired from SportsCenter. He joins us to talk about his incredible career and what's next. That's with him on Oklahoma Sports Scene coming up. NBC Sports TV analyst Randy Moss joins us for a wrap-up of Thoroughbred Racing's Breeders' Cup Championship weekend, the 41st Breeders' Cup from Del Mar Racecourse. Dale Day has a feature on a standout thoroughbred racehorse at Remington Park in Oklahoma City and a jockey who just rode his 1,000th career winner. And Michael Wright wraps up the big games this past week and looks forward to this, hard to believe, final week of the regular high school football season coming up. Let's start with our big college football scoreboard from the past weekend and my team grades. Well, OU 59, Maine 14. Secret to turning OU's program around, scheduled 12 games, the Maine Black Bears. I gave OU a B+, couldn't get an A when you play Maine. Arizona State came into Stillwater, ruined their homecoming, lousy weather, lousy game. Arizona State 42, Oklahoma State 21. Cowboys 6 straight loss. That's the most since 2000, the grade F. Wow, I didn't see this coming. Ole Miss went into Arkansas and gave the Razorbacks a heck of a beating. But the Hogs gave up the most points ever to an SEC team, losing 63-31 to Ole Miss. Both teams have the week off, and now Arkansas gets ready to take on Texas a week from now. So good luck with that. And disappointed for Tulsa. Thought they're on the way back. Had a big win, of course, last week, but went to Alabama, Birmingham, and got whipped 59-21. One win, Alabama, Birmingham embarrassed TU, jumping out to a 45-0 lead. Tulsa now 3-6, guaranteed a third straight losing season. This week we have road games for the Sooners and Cowboys. Golden Hurricane and Razorbacks have the much-needed open date. OU at Missouri, SEC Network, 6:45 p.m. 15 minutes later at 7 p.m., the Oklahoma State at TCU. That's on Fox FS2. And again, TU Arkansas have the week off. Here's this week's 10th Associated Press College Football National Poll. Oregon's impressive win at Michigan kept the unbeaten Ducks number 1 for a third straight week, and this time they were unanimous choice for the first time. Georgia hung on to number 2, with Ohio State moving up 1 spot to winning at Penn State. Miami at Florida 4. Texas moved up 1 spot to 5 with a 7-1 record. BYU unbeaten 8-2 on top of the Big 12 is ranked 9th. Other Big 12 teams ranked Iowa State 17, Colorado 21, Kansas State 22. Turn now to our Tulsa World Hot Topics. With a 3-2 start to the season, the Tulsa Oilers had 2 more home games this past Saturday and Sunday, hosting the Iowa Heartlands for the first time. They lost 4-2 on Saturday, but came back on Sunday to win that game with 4 different Oiler players scoring goals. The team now leaves on a 5-game road trip to Allen, Texas, Wichita, and Tahoe. Next home game is not until November the 21st. The 24-25 college basketball season gets underway this past Monday, November the 4th. Regular season ends on March the 16th. Final Four starts on March 18th. National championship game will be on April the 7th. That's the Alamo Dome down in San Antonio, Texas. Here's the opening night scoreboard for our area teams. TU opening at Northeastern State. They honored their Hall of Fame basketball coach, Ken Hayes, honored by both schools in his Hall of Fame career. OU playing host to Lindenwood. Oklahoma State hosted Green Bay. Both Oral Roberts and Arkansas start play this Wednesday the 6th. Razorbacks under new head coach John Calipari hosting Lipscomb. TU will be at Minnesota. The Oklahoma City Thunder off to a record start, 6-0 to start the season, the best record ever. They now have a stretch of 8 home games in OKC at the Paycom Center. Here's the Thunder home slate. November 8th to take on the Rockets. The 10th, the Warriors, with the Clippers coming to town on November 11th. The 13th is the Pelicans. 15th, the Suns. November 17th, Dallas Mavericks. The 20th, the Trailblazers. So go to OKC and support the Thunder off to a great start this season. Tulsa's Indoor Professional Football League team kicks off its 16-game schedule on March the 22nd at San Antonio. And they have 2 more road games at Fisher's Freight in Indiana, Green Bay Blizzard after that, before the home opener, BOK Center, mark it down Saturday, April the 9th, for indoor professional football, 3rd season for the Tulsa Oilers. They'll be hosting the San Antonio Gunslingers. And get ready, Oklahoma. Big Al Jerkens returns next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us. and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
The Tulsa Oilers return to the ice for another ice-melting year.
He shoots, he scores!
Thursday, November 21st, 7:05 at the BOK Center. It's $3 beer night, and the first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers mini cooler. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment.
It's turned over and going the other way.
Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement.
Oh, I can feel that one.
Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Big Al Jerkens is a true sports legend here in Tulsa. 34 years as sports director at KGOH Channel 2 in the city. Also, of course, longtime voice on radio with Sports Animal at 97.1 here in Tulsa. He's retired now. He and his wife Sandy actually moved to Nashville, Tennessee. But he still keeps in touch here, and as mentioned, he's on the air 10 to 12 on 97.1. Talked to Big Al because he also is a huge New York Yankee fan. I had to see if his heart was still beating, how he accepted the loss to the Dodgers in Game 5 of the World Series.
Well, I just got back from New York City because I was trying to find me a spot for the victory parade, but it was quite vacant, so I didn't have any trouble finding a parking space, but I didn't find any parade. So,
and you still accept the fact the Yankees had a heck of a good season, though.
Yeah, but they were frustrating. You know, the way they played in Game 5, you know, I hate to pat myself on the back, but I do watch a lot of Yankee games. And I do notice trends and mistakes and all that other stuff. And the Yankees have played like that all year long, just doing stupid things. And it all added up into one bad inning during the World Series. So, because there should have been a Game 6.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that the Yankees would have won the World Series or made the greatest comeback of all time or anything like that. But I know deep down there should have been a Game 6. We should have been playing in Los Angeles over the weekend.
Well,
you notice how I said we.
Well, you can't help yourself. And you go back a long ways, these Yankees. Talk about some of your first memories of a Yankee fan, your first trip to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, well, I remember because back when I was growing up and you were growing up, obviously, we had black and white television. So when you watched the Yankees, nothing was green, nothing was brown. You didn't see the dirt. And I remember the first time walking into Yankee Stadium and seeing it in color was the biggest awe-inspiring thing for me. I think the first game I went to, I was 8 years old. And so I got to experience that. But then after we went the first time, it was they played Sunday doubleheaders most of the time when I was growing up. So we used to go on Yankee home Sundays and do the doubleheader thing. And I remember to this day how to get there. It was the Q5 bus to Jamaica, hop on the E train to 7th Avenue, get on the D train to 161st and River Avenue. And it cost you a total of 30 cents to get there. And it cost you $1.30 to get in. We brought our own peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we bought a Coke or a Pepsi or whatever it was for 25 cents for a 16-ounce cup. So we could go to a game for less than $3.
Things have changed.
Go ahead.
Things have changed a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, a little. The last time I was at Yankee Stadium, I bought a Stella and a hot dog, and it cost me $33. So that's.
Well, Al, I'm sure you have made more than one, but who's your favorite Yankee of all time?
Oh, Mickey Mantle.
Oh, sure.
He's the reason I became a Yankee fan. But I've got there's some guys I just can't accept being a Yankee, like Reggie Jackson and Roger Clemens. I refuse to except the fact that they wore pinstripes. But I was obviously a big Mickey Mantle fan. I was such a big Mickey Mantle fan. I remember through like grades 1 through 6, whenever we had to do a book report, I always did it on Mickey Mantle. Or if I had a geography project, I did it on the state of Oklahoma. So because of Mickey Mantle. And so from that standpoint, and here I am going to PS 156 in Laurelton, Queens, New York, and doing a report on Oklahoma. And I knew, that was going to be unique. And so that's why I stuck with the Oklahoma, New York theme.
So what will this Yankee team look like next year?
This is going to sound nuts, but if the Yankees could sign another starter, a third baseman, and a first baseman for the same amount of money that it would cost them to keep Soto, I'd rather go with the 3 versus 1. I think they could survive without Soto. And, there's so many other needs for this team. Like, they do need another starter. They do need a first baseman. They're probably going to need a second baseman because it doesn't look like Torres is going to stay. And so from there, and they can move Grisham to the outfield and get a decent third baseman, and I think they'd be okay. But getting one, and obviously they're going to have to re-sign Garrett Cole. I mean, he optioned out, but the Yankees can still match and keep him. So they need to do that for sure.
Well, I see behind your extensive memorabilia collection. I know Sandy is very proud of your special den there. And she stays away from that, I guess, right?
Yeah, I only have one chair in here, so it makes it unless she wants to sit on my lap, and I think those days are over. But no, it's my sanctuary, and she has her own sanctuary, and we drink our coffee and have our coffee cake together in the sunroom and all that other stuff. I mean, we do a lot of things together. But she, whenever there's a game on, she points to my room.
Yeah. Well, you can appreciate that. My wife Becky said I was dying. I thought, poor Al watched that Yankee game there, losing into the season. Becky goes, well, good news, Al won't have to change his license plate.
It's true.
Tell us about your license plate.
Well, let me see if I can get a picture of. Can I move it up there and show you?
Why not?
Let me just kind of. I'll see if I can find it.
See, Mike, he's directing too.
Can you see it like that?
Oh, perfect! Look at that.
Okay. And I'll do a quick view of my room.
Yeah, look at this.
This is my New York City thing on top, and then I've got all my baseballs over here and there, and then this middle shelf there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's my dad's stuff.
Yeah, sure. Hall of Fame trainer.
Right. And I got to show you a picture. I don't know. My dad was a steeplechase rider.
That's right. I remember that.
I don't know if you could see this picture. Can you see that okay?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. That's not him falling,
that's my dad on the lead horse.
Oh, good.
And the jockey's falling off behind him, and he's taking a glance at what happened right behind him. But that's my dad on a steeplechase. And obviously, he had a similar accident. He had a similar accident with that. So he gave up riding and became a trainer.
It's
amazing how that would work.
And your family is so involved in racing. Your dad, of course, a Hall of Famer. Your brother's in the business. But I've always asked, why isn't Big Al training horses?
I've got allergies and I can't handle it. And, the famous line from my old man was, you're not allergic to the animals in the straw. You're allergic to getting up in the morning. And that has stuck with me throughout my childhood and now I'm 72 years old. And I still hear it.
Well, what are your thoughts? It would have been a disastrous football season in Oklahoma for our Big Four teams.
I don't know what to say. If I'm astonished, surprised, and that's going to be one of my themes, obviously, of the radio show. And you want to say nice things. I mean, we were always taught if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. Well, how do you do it? How do you do that justice if our football teams? Would you consider it a disaster? I mean, it's darn close to being a disaster.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely, no doubt.
OU, I don't know if what we expected. Obviously, we're going into a different area with OU, and I didn't expect them to be this porous on offense. I thought they'd be a little bit better. Obviously, I know the injuries and all that, but still, this is a blue blood program, and I don't think they should be this bad on offense. I don't care what the situation is. They've always had people that would replace them with other capable parts. Oklahoma State, I to this day, I can't figure it out. I really can't. And TU, we've had this kind of disaster before. It's just the part of their game. They'll have one good team and then two bad ones, and then two average, and then maybe one good team, and then two more bad. It's just part of the territory, I guess, at 11th and Harvard.
Well, Big Al, after some, my gosh, we're checking it, 34 years, that possible with Channel 2?
Actually, I did more because that 34 doesn't include the first 3 years I worked there when you were at 8, and I was working for Jerry Weber.
Jerry Weber, sure.
So I worked for 3.5 years with Jerry as the weekend sports guy, and then I went to Wichita and Nashville until mid-'80, and then I came back to Tulsa in '86 when Jerry went to the news department. And so from 86 to 80, I can't even remember what year I retired anymore. But I am I'm kind of a little bit back. I'm still getting acclimated to doing the radio again on the Sports Animal. So, I teamed back up with Pat Jones, and I still get to work with Caden a lot. So, it's a good. I had my retirement years, and now I have my semi-retirement years.
Coming up next on Oklahoma Sports Scene, we'll talk to a retired ESPN sportscaster, John Anderson. He got his start here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He just finished 4,321 editions of ESPN SportsCenter. John Anderson, straight ahead.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Founded in 1960, Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing has been dressing gentlemen for over half a century. We are family-owned and operated, offering premium brand tuxedos and accessories at our Tulsa store on South Harvard. Bashira's also does made-to-measure suits, sports coats, dress shirts, and slacks, and a top line of sportswear. We do tailoring on-site to assure the perfect fit, so you will look your very best for that special occasion. Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing, an Oklahoma tradition.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Wednesday through Saturday, first race nightly 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
A very special guest now here on Oklahoma Sports Scene. John Anderson has been part of ESPN SportsCenter for 24 and a half years. Retired this past June, but his career included stops in Tulsa after he got a degree at my alma mater, the University of Missouri. Caught up with John, just like most ESPN announcers, he was on the road.
Yeah, so I am currently in New York City, having just finished up the New York City Marathon. I ran it once. I've called it 11 times. I feel like that's a really good ratio. 11's not enough to call it. One's way too many to run it. And then I was at the SEC cross country meet too, so I got to see OU running his first SEC cross country meet under Coach Thomas, who's taken over that program in the last year and a half. So that's what keeps me busy right now.
And now you're about to come full circle, returning to Mizzou as a professor, huh?
Is sort of extraordinary. I had the last 4 or 5 years, as I'm sure you know, in this business. At some point, you're like, I have run my course in it, both in what I feel like I have done and what I have the energy to continue to do at some of the outrageous hours. So I'd kind of been planning for that. But to make the spot that I land when I got into academic at Mizzou and my alma mater is really kind of an amazing coincidence. And yeah, full circle. And I'm glad that 40 years later that some of the places I still like to go to are still there. So I can go get a Shakespeare's pizza or go over to the Heidelberg.
Exactly. Well, I started in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and got into, and then went to Mizzou. I was a track athlete, high jumper and a long jumper, right?
Mostly a high jumper.
Right.
I did some other events when my coach was kind enough to desperately try to help me get my letter jacket. They just didn't hold them. They just didn't hand them out then. And so, and so everyone's like, dude, there's only 4 people. And if you get in there, you can be 5th and we can get you a point. And he was really good. And that's really how I ended up at Mizzou. Like I wanted to go to J school, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be there or stay home in Wisconsin. And this wonderful coach offered me a chance to walk on and run. And it was the best thing that's ever happened to me, both professionally, personally, and just real quickly, when I went back to the journalism school, I went in because I had some forms to fill out. And the administrative assistant for the dean said, here, this envelope came for you. And it was a letter handwritten by my coach, who is now 101 years old, congratulating me on returning to the university. So he's a special man, and it was a special place that I fell into.
Well, after graduating from Mizzou, you came here to Tulsa, Oklahoma, started at my old station, KTO, ABC Channel 8, then on to KOTV, and then to ESPN. Talk about that.
So I don't know if you had this. The first time I went up Lookout Mountain to KTUL, I thought, oh my God, this is where they kill me and leave the body. Nobody will find me up here. I'm like, where am I going? And then you get to the top and lo and behold, there's the station. I'm like, okay. But for a little bit of that drive, I was really worried. I'm like, what have I gotten into? And the only time I'd been to Oklahoma before that was for an OU Missouri football game. And it was the one we famously lost 77-0.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, OU people are the nicest people in the world. I'm like, well, of course they are. They're up by 11 touchdowns. So I was able to go there. It was great. And it was a great first job. And I was a part-time news photographer. Like that's the first job I took. But I thought I was a good place to learn. And it turned out it really was, because I got to work at the time, a great news director named Bill Payer. And then when one of the sports photographers left, I took that job. And so I got to work with John Walls and I got to work with Jack Buns, who were 2 really, really good people to learn from. And the whole market you learn from, Chris, like people that go, oh, you're in Oklahoma. You're like, do you know how many Final Fours I went to? Do you know how many bowl games OU went to and Final Fours with OSU? Like it was all kinds of stuff that I encountered. And then when John switched stations, I was lucky enough to go work at KTUL and worked there for many, many years, and then off to Phoenix and then to ESPN. And like everybody in life, right, all of a sudden, wow, you're an overnight success, because there you are on ESPN after 12 years in the business.
How'd you make the big leap to ESPN then, John?
Well, I try to think I worked at it really hard. And then the person that I had representing me at the time sent my tape to ESPN, and they saw enough on there that they liked me to bring me in. Went there, bombed the interview. Pretty much, it was the day after my grandmother was very close to help raise me a great deal, and so they didn't call me for a few months. And in the interim, I was debating over a job at back home in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or going to the late CNNSI, God rest its soul. And as I was debating between those two, my agent made one last call and just said, hey, John Anderson is about to go to CNN. You probably don't want that to happen. And Al Jaffe, who was there, said, okay, let's bring him in. And there it was. And that's how I got my foot in the door. And after that, I just had, Chris, I could not have had better timing when I got there. People like Charlie Steiner. Charlie went out to do the Yankees games before he went to the Dodger game. Jack Edwards took off and went to be the Bruins guy. By the way, Jack, just this weekend, they honored him for 20 years there. Larry Beal wanted to go back to San Francisco. Kenny Mayne, who was doing the nights, he had just had a daughter and he wanted to work a normal schedule. So suddenly all these seats that had been occupied for years opened up, and I was the beneficiary of being having a pretty good run on ESPN News. And then boom, I was over on the SportsCenter side, and they couldn't get rid of me for almost 25 years.
4,321 centers. And I know that quarter of a century must have some great highlights, some great memories, obviously, John.
Yeah, and I think of the stuff that I really enjoy, other than like it's very cliche to go like, listen, the some of the great stuff is that I got to work with Kenny Mayne and he became a great friend, and Steve Levy, who became a great friend, and John Butchie Gross and Linda Cohn. So all the people you meet, no matter where you go, you run into really special people. But things I'll remember there that were things that I could have only covered if I had been at ESPN. I was fortunate both in Phoenix and in Tulsa to cover. Here's a Super Bowl, or here's a what is now a major bowl game, whether it was the Orange Bowl or a Cotton Bowl or something like that, and even a Super Bowl. Because as I was leaving Tulsa, right, they had the Jimmy takes over and then the Barry thing. So I don't know. But I would never have covered this New York City Marathon if I hadn't been there. That's become like my best day and my favorite thing. I probably would not have, even though I only covered it once, gone to the British Open at St. Andrews. I would not have covered the Rose Parade, which turned out to be one of the great things that I've ever done. I just love, as a kid that grew up in Wisconsin in the winter, I'm like, God, I would love to go to Pasadena and see the Badgers and somebody play in the Rose Bowl. So those are kind of the things that I remember that stick out to me, were things that I would not have gotten a chance to cover if I had not been there, as opposed to some of the things that you probably can run into if you work in other places.
But John, I'm very proud of the fact that a lot of Tulsans have gone on from the Tulsa market, yourself included, and the career at ESPN, Bob Stevens, Mark Schwartz, during Knockout and NoCal is now the SEC network. And I spent a few years there too, chasing the horses.
Yeah, you and Kenny Mayne are my horse people that I know all the time. Like, I don't know a ton, but I always think, wow, if I need to bet on a horse, I'd go with Kenny. And I think if I needed to go with a trainer, then I'd come find you. By the way, the horse people are unbelievable. Okay, if I can just divert, I had a niece who struggled at one point, and her parents, my sister bought her a horse, and it changed her life. But this horse, even though it was a jumping horse, had been a thoroughbred. And so I just looked back and I called the jockey club, and they had every record on this horse that was just some obscure horse that my niece had run into. I was able to find the breaking its maiden, pictures of it and winning. It was remarkable. The history the jockey club has, every athletic department should do like those people do. When it comes through. But yeah, we've been really fortunate. Not only were there great Oklahoma people that have popped up on ESPN, but I think part of that, Chris, is because of the people that you work with there, the people, whether it's John Walls or the late Bill Tegans when I was there to get a part of, or the news departments, or there's people in Tulsa recognize, it doesn't always happen in local news, the importance of sports to that culture, to that town, to that environment. So they go all out for OU and they go all out for OSU. And then these people represent in a lot of different ways. Here's Barry Sanders that wins a Heisman Trophy and plays for 10 years. So it's a great place to learn. It's a great place to actually, even if after you're done learning, I'm going to make a career here, of great things to cover. And, for a non-professional market, there's about everything you could possibly hope for to cover as a sports guy when you're in Tulsa, for sure.
John, finally, real quick, your thoughts on our alma mater hosting the Oklahoma Sooners Saturday?
Man, 2 months ago, I thought this was going to be great, and I was all set to go, and I was ready. And now I'm like, you know what? I got to get some stuff out of boxes. I'll go a week later when I'm crushing my house. So I'm not sure which fan base has been more crushed by the disappointment of their season.
Yeah.
I tend to think maybe OU's probably a little more down on how their season has gone, but the Missouri had high hopes. I think they thought they could literally be 8-0 going into this game instead of 6-2, and have 6-2 that could have been a 4-4 kind of thing. And it's simple to me on both sides. Like, if they just had better quarterback play, the whole season changes. And Missouri's guy has not been as good, and then he's been hurt, and OU obviously is discombobulated at the position. And I think until either side gets that straightened out, we could have a slugfest come Saturday for sure.
Well, John Anderson, 4,321 SportsCenter host, and now ready to head back to his alma mater. I wish you all the best there, John. And of course, you got to close with MIZ.
MIZ-ZOU. And I wish, listen, I was really lucky to start in Tulsa. I was really lucky to work with people that still knew you and had been had some of your coaching tree in them. I'm lucky I can still draw a Gusty that I faked from Don Woods,
There
and
you go.
I'm really proud of my time in Tulsa and really happy that's where I got to start. So thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us, John. All the best in your retirement. Look forward to seeing you at the University of Missouri campus. Coming up next, Michael Knight wraps up the regular season of high school college football. Say it's not so, but it is true. That's next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
The Tulsa Oilers return to the ice for another ice-melting year.
He shoots, he scores.
Thursday, November 21st, 7:05 at the BOK Center. It's $3 beer night, and the first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers mini cooler. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment.
It's turned over and going the other way.
Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement.
Ooh, I can feel that one.
Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
The Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town, is the only place you can skate like the pros. With 2 rinks, there's always time to strap on the blades and hit the ice. The Wee Street Ice Center at 43rd and Yale is your family fun destination. Try out the game simulator rooms or hit the arcade. When you get hungry, grab a bite at Puck's Sports Bar and Grill with delicious food, great drink specials, and more. It's Midtown Tulsa's coolest entertainment center. Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town. Come get your skate on.
Well, nobody covers high school football like our friend Michael Knight here. Michael joining us via Zoom, of course, this week. And Michael, it's hard to believe we're wrapping up the regular season of high school football in Oklahoma this weekend.
Yeah, we talk about it every year, but it seems to go faster and faster every season. The off season is long, and unfortunately, the season is short. But some great games this week to wrap things up. A lot of district championships up for grabs. A lot of playoff spots up for grabs. So some exciting football all across Oklahoma this week.
Well, let's look back to last week. Where were you? What games did you cover? And tell us about the games.
Yeah, so I went out to Stillwater on Thursday night. Hadn't seen the Pioneers. They were looking to finish the regular season strong after losing a couple weeks ago to Choctaw. And I caught the second half of their game with Piedmont. And defensively, they looked great. Piedmont runs a flex bone offense where, if you're not ready for it, they can really chew up the clock. They can hit you with some big plays every now and then. And Stillwater was prepared. They won 49-7. The passing attack was really good. Mason Schubert, a senior quarterback for them, he's having an excellent season, and he had it all on display with 5 touchdown passes. 3 of them to sophomore Deacon Jones, 2 of them to a freshman, David Thomas, who both of those receivers, both Deacon Jones and David Thomas, already have Division I offers, just a sophomore and a freshman, respectively, and they're already on the radar of college coaches. They're 2 of the better young receivers in the state.
Holden Davis played quite a football game, decided by 7 points.
Yeah, it was a tale of 2 halves, and that's about as cliche as it gets, but that was the truth. Holdenville jumped out to a 22-0 lead at halftime. They had full control of that game, and within the first half of the third quarter, within the first 6 minutes, Davis had made it a 1-score game. They scored first. They got the ball back. They drove right back down and scored again. And from there, it was a defensive slugfest. Both teams, they really struggled moving the ball in the second half of the third quarter and then in the fourth quarter. And Holdenville got stops when they needed to. This is a Holdenville team that's undefeated, but it's also a team that hasn't experienced this kind of success in a very long time. I believe this was their first district championship win since 2000. And to do it against a historic program like Davis, when you're talking about some of the top small school programs in Oklahoma, Davis is one of those teams that come to mind. And for them to win that way at home, it was a fun atmosphere, fun game from start to finish. Holdenville getting the win in a close one in a battle between 2 teams that run the ball a lot. I think between the two, There might have been a combined 5 passes. That game went quick.
Okay, this week, what games are you interested in for the final week of the regular season?
Yeah, so I mentioned those games that were our head-to-head matchups for the district championship, and there's quite a few, but some of the ones that I'm going to have my eye on, you look at Class 5A, Del City taking on Pryor. Pryor, one of the surprise teams in Class 5A, and that district has been absolute chaos with Claremore, Collinsville. Tahlequah has surprised some teams, but you have Pryor getting an opportunity to win a district championship and a matchup against Del City. Del City, though, is one of the top teams in Class 5A. In my opinion, I think they're the biggest threat to Carl Albert in Class 5A. So that's one to watch. In Class 3A, Cassia Hall and Berry Hill will go head-to-head for the district championship. Cassia Hall has been playing really good football all season. Berry Hill started the year 0-3. And that's a Berry Hill team that I came into the year thinking they were going to be really good. One of the top contenders in Class 3A. After the first 3 games, I wasn't so sure, but they haven't lost since. So they started 0-3. They come into this week at 6-3 and have a head-to-head clash with Cassia Hall for the district championship. It doesn't get much better than that. I mean, those are the matchups, Chris, that I love when it comes to high school football because it feels like the playoffs have already started. Because technically, it's the last week of the regular season, but you have district championships on the line. You have, the final spot in the playoffs on the line. So it feels like the playoffs have come early. My week will get started on Thursday. I'll go out to Union to check out the Red Hawks against Edmond Memorial. And when you look at that matchup on paper, it doesn't get much better when it comes to a quarterback matchup. You have Shaker Rising for Union. You have David McComb for Edmond Memorial. Shaker, committed to Boston College, has been one of the top quarterbacks since he was a freshman. David, same story. He's committed to Kansas. He's been considered one of the top quarterbacks since he was a freshman. Both of them can absolutely throw the ball all over the field. And there's no doubt that Union is really kind of kicking it into gear, and Shaker Rising is showing why he's one of those top quarterbacks in Oklahoma. Over the last 2 weeks alone, he's thrown for over 800 yards, 14 touchdowns, and I believe 7 incompletions in the last 2 weeks alone. Ridiculous numbers.
Norman at Bixby. The Spartans are kind of all of a sudden a little quiet around the radar. People wondering what's going on with Owasso too, allowing a lot of points.
Yeah, Owasso, it's interesting. I think that they were so dominant at the start of the season. Them giving up, whatever it ended up being to Norman North the week before. I know they struggled with Edmond Santa Fe. I have no concerns about Owasso. I have no reason to think that they won't be just fine. There's good teams. I mean, Norman North, they have a really good combination at quarterback and receiver, Owen Eshelman and Mason James. So offensively, they're really talented. Them scoring a lot of points is not that surprising. Bixby and Norman this week is an interesting matchup because on paper, you would just think, yeah, Bixby's going to win, and they're going to win by a lot. And that might happen. Bixby is playing really good. They dominated Deer Creek last week. They really, similar to Jinx, those are 2 teams that are really kicking it into gear with the playoffs right around the corner. But Norman could make things interesting. Similar story. Offensively, they have some firepower. Their quarterback, Phoenix Murphy, is one of the more improved players in the state this season. So they could make things interesting on Friday night. However, we're still talking about the Bixby Spartans. And last I checked, the calendar has turned to November. And that usually means that the Spartans are, kicking it into gear and winning just about every game that they play.
Final 30 seconds here, Michael. Let's talk about how to find out more information on Prep Redzone Oklahoma.
Yeah, just check us out, prepredzone.com/Oklahoma. Starting this weekend, we're going to have a ton of playoff coverage and playoff preview coverage coming up right after the games finish up on Friday night. We'll have all the brackets, all the playoff brackets out. You can check those out on our Twitter at PrepRedZoneOK. And you can check us out throughout the weekend and throughout next week for all your playoff preview content on Prep Red Zone Oklahoma.
Thank you, Michael. We'll be right back with NBC sports analyst Randy Moss talking about the Breeders' Cup and also gives his pick of the horse of the year That's next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
The Tulsa Oilers return to the ice for another ice-melting year.
He shoots, he scores.
Thursday, November 21st, 7:05 at the BOK Center. It's $3 beer night, and the first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers mini cooler. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment.
It's turned over and going the other way.
Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement.
Ooh, I can feel that one.
Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Wednesday through Saturday, first race nightly 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
Well, the 41st Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships wrapped up this past weekend at Del Mar Racetrack just outside San Diego. 14 races worth $33 million. Randy Moss, NBC's great analyst, joined us for the preview. Now he has the wrap-up for us. Joined Randy Moss. Find out what he thought were the best races, the best stories coming out of Breeders' Cup 41.
Well, obviously the big storyline going in, as it usually is, was the Breeders' Cup Classic, as well as Torpedo Anna throwing her hat in the ring for Horse of the Year in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Those were the two big storylines on Saturday. The Classic lived up to expectations. It was a fantastic race. Sierra Leone turning the tables on Fierceness. He was beaten by Fierceness, obviously, in the Jim Dandy and the Travers, but the difference Saturday and those races was that he had more early pace in front of him to help set up his closing kick. And even though Del Mar has one of the shortest stretch runs of any racetrack in America, he still was able to get up just because Fierceness was forced to run so fast early. But a huge race by Fierceness in defeat, a big effort by Forever Young, the Japanese horse, to finish third. City of Troy sort of confirmed what a lot of us had suspected. He is a turf horse and not a dirt horse. Even though he's by Triple Crown winner Justify, the female side of his pedigree was exclusively grass. His trainer, Aidan O'Brien, is trying to fall on the sword and blame himself in his preparation, which couldn't be further from the truth. He did everything he possibly could to prepare a turf horse to run against the best horses in the best dirt horses in the world, and it just didn't pan out.
Let's take a look at that richest race, $7 million Breeders' Cup Classic. The morning line favorite was that City of Troy. You mentioned Aidan O'Brien from Ireland, but the actually betting favorite, right, was Fierceness, where they went off to the post.
Fierceness went off at a little higher than 5-2. That was a bad line to have City of Troy as the program favorite. There were just too many question marks about City of Troy on dirt. We've seen it time and time and time again. To the credit of John Magner and Michael Tabor and Derek Smith and all the Coolmore partners, they're such sportsmen to try these sorts of things. You know, John Magner says they enjoy trying to do something that's out of the ordinary. And they've tried and tried to win the Breeders' Cup Classic with horses that have been campaigned on turf over in Europe. And so far, it just hasn't worked out. I mean, but the interesting thing is, even though Coolmore lost with their much hyped City of Troy, which is probably the most overly hyped horse of my lifetime in thoroughbred racing, even though they lost that with City of Troy, they were the co-owners of Sierra Leone, the winner.
Yeah.
So it made for a very interesting winner's circle, you know, because their beloved City of Troy, who's going to go to stud now, who they desperately wanted to win, left with the 8th place finish, and yet they're in the winner's circle accepting the trophy along with co-owner Peter Brandt for winning with Sierra Leone. It was quite interesting. So Coolmore has won now. They have won a Breeders' Cup Classic.
Let's take a look at that run by Sierra Leone. She's number 11. He is number 11. Pink Silks, the outside. Pick up the call now from NBC's Larry Comas, the Breeders' Cup Classic.
And they're into the stretch, and Sierra Leone has circled up on the outside to take the lead. Fierceness battles on second. Newgate behind them. Forever Young on the far outside. Sierra Leone. Fierceness digs in. Newgate. Forever Young. Sierra Leone close to home. Sierra Leone does it in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Fierceness was second. Forever Young was third. Newgate fourth. And then came Senor Buscador. Today was the day that he got it done. It was Sierra Leone.
Randy, a little Tulsa ties, too, to Sierra Leone, bred by John and Debbie Oxley. Of course, they won the 2001 Kentucky Derby with Monarchos.
Yes, Debbie Oxley was given for their anniversary of filly back in the day called Darling My Darling, who wound up being a graded stakes winning filly. She wasn't, one of the best fillies in the country, but she was retired to the breeding shed by Debbie, and she has turned out to be a sensational broodmare, because not only was she, very high up in the pedigree of Sierra Leone, Darling My Darling's also the second dam of the Japanese third place finisher, Forever Young. So the Oxleys had two rooting interests in there, and they finished first and third. That's pretty remarkable for the former Tulsans.
Now let's take a look at that Breeders' Cup distaff. You mentioned the star of the show was Torpedo Anna, and let's watch her finish now. Larry Comas again on the call from NBC.
As they come to the top of the stretch in the Breeders' Cup distaff, and Torpedo Anna begins to move away. 1 furlong to go. She's in front by 2. Raging Sea still there, trying to fight for second. Then Candide in third. But this brilliant filly's going to take them all the way. Torpedo Anna, what a year for her. She won it by 3 over Raging Sea.
Hey, Randy, you think that's your horse of the year, Torpedo Anna? Kenny McPeak,
I think
first Breeders' Cup win.
Yeah, I think so, Chris. She was a massive favorite in the race just because of attrition, and it's kind of disappointing that the distaff turned out to be very anticlimactic. There were 12 horses originally pre-entered, and the race was billed as a showdown that would have been really remarkable between Idiomatic, last year's distaff winner, and Torpedo Anna. Well, Idiomatic had to drop out due to a career-ending injury, and then it became a showdown between Torpedo Anna and the Japanese unbeaten filly by the name of Awesome Result. And then lo and behold, Awesome Result had to drop out the morning of the race. So that left Torpedo Anna as the most overwhelming favorite in the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup. And she delivered, to her credit. And to me, my vote is going to be for Torpedo Anna as horse of the year.
One of the big races on Saturday as well, and I can tell you're a bit surprised. Usually the Europeans go over here and they dominate the mile. They never can stand up with those turf horses, but my gosh, More Than Looks pulled off the upset.
Notable Speech was the big European favorite in there. Godolphin, Charlie Appleby. Right. Godolphin and Charlie Appleby and William Buick had won the race 3 years in a row with horses that looked an awful lot like Notable Speech on paper. And Notable Speech had no real excuses. He just didn't fire. But More Than Looks, trained by Cherie DeVoe, who's really an ascending trainer in America, ran a heck of a race. More Than Looks was a horse that could have been bet. And I think she went off maybe 6 or 7 to 1. But the form, and we've been watching More Than Looks all summer long, he was getting better and better and better. And this was almost certainly going to be the best race of his 2024 campaign. And he's known for his stretch kicks. It's not very often you see an American out kick a European, a good European, in the final quarter mile. But that's exactly what More Than Looks did.
Friday's Breeders' Cup, of course, always billed as the Future Stars, 2-year-olds on parade there. And The juvenile is always the race everybody talks about, the race that many people say gives us the early favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Bob Baffert was well represented. Take a look at that finish there of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Citizen Bull and Gaming, and they turn for home together. The stablemates 1-2, they're into the stretch. Citizen Bull in front, trying to take him all the way, and he kicks away. Citizen Bull by 2. Gaming is all out second. Getaway car third. Baffert 1, 2, 3 as they come to the finish. It is going to be Citizen Bull and Martin Garcia to win. Gaming was second. Hill Road came late. Grabbed third from Getaway car in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Well, Randy, good news is Bob Baffert gets to go back to the Kentucky Derby. I don't know who he'll take there. He finished 1-2, could have been 1-2-3 pretty easily in that race.
Yeah, Citizen Bull Gaming finished first and second. Getaway car was just beaten for third and wound up fourth. I'll make a prediction for you. I think Bob Baffert will be front and center with one of the favorites in the Kentucky Derby next year, and I doubt it will be any of these 3 horses. He's got such a deep barn. He's got horses sitting in the barn that are extremely talented that we haven't even seen on the racetrack yet. And you'll see them come rolling out here shortly.
Randy, thanks so much for being such a big part of our Breeders' Cup coverage. And I guess we'll talk next time for the Kentucky Derby, maybe in May.
All right, Chris.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care, my friend.
I'll come right back with our Remington race report from Oklahoma City after we take this break.
The Tulsa Oilers return to the ice for another ice-melting year.
He shoots, he scores.
Thursday, November 21st, 7:05 at the BOK Center. It's $3 beer night, and the first 1,000 fans get a free Tulsa Oilers mini cooler. Don't miss the ultimate in fast-paced entertainment.
It's turned over and going the other way.
Get your tickets now at TulsaOilers.com. It's smash-mouth, hard-hitting, pulse-pounding excitement.
Ooh, I can feel that one.
Tickets at TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey are back.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
The Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town, is the only place you can skate like the pros. With 2 rinks, there's always time to strap on the blades and hit the ice. The Wee Street Ice Center at 43rd and Yale is your family fun destination. Try out the game simulator rooms or hit the arcade. When you get hungry, grab a bite at Puck's Sports Bar and Grill with delicious food, great drink specials, and more. It's Midtown Tulsa's coolest entertainment center. Wee Street Ice Center, the coolest place in town. Come get your skate on.
Every racing season at Remington Park brings new stories and a few surprises. So far, the best story this season is Holly Dolly. She is perfect in 2024 with 4 attempts and 4 wins, including a very impressive stakes performance. Holly Dolly showed promise as a 3-year-old at Remington Park in 2023, breaking her maiden status on November 8th. It was her only career win until she returned at age 4 this season with a romp on August 16th, scoring by 4 lengths. To the top of the stretch, Holly Dolly digging in to find some more, takes the advantage as they straighten away. Change it up has led all the way until the top of the stretch, and that is over now as Holly Dolly has taken over. She's up by 3 and pulling clear. Inside the furlong mark, Paparino chasing, trying to get up for a better minor award, but Holly Dolly is in control. Under Diego, Holly Dolly will score this one by almost 4.5-5. Owned by Tom Durand of Grapevine, Texas, and trained by Ray Ashford of Moore, Oklahoma, Holly Dolly had another big score by 5 lengths in Allowance Company on September 4th. That victory gave her a shot at stakes competition. She rewarded the confidence of her connections in the Flashy Lady Handicap on September 29th. They're off in the Flashy Lady Handicap. Clean start. Pallison away sharply toward the outside. Now moving up, there goes Closing Act, second and gaining quickly, followed by Perfect Wish and Cajun Ninja. Gap of 1.5 lengths to Holly Dolly, 5th in the early going. Then Faith Alone, the trailer early on. Magnolia Avenue, only about 7 from the front. Midway up the backstretch, it's Pallison on the outside by almost a 1/2 length. Closing Act at the rail, saving ground second with a 1/2 mile to go. They get the opening quarter in 22.22. Another 3.5 then to Holly Dolly, who's advanced into the third. Perfect Wish, fourth, going to the turn. Cajun Ninja going the other way, being passed inside by Magnolia Avenue and Faith Alone. In the turn, Pallison still fighting hard on the outside and saving ground inside and creeping up with every stride now. That is Closing Act now on even terms with a quarter mile to go. Holly Dolly is going to swing wide to try to find the space to roll and is out there towards the middle as they reach the top of the stretch. Closing Act is on top by a pair, but here comes Holly Dolly. Wide slingshot move off the turn, gets her to the front with a furlong left. It's Holly Dolly out by 2. Closing Act with no answer. Perfect Wish gaining in third. Holly Dolly going on with this one to win yet again, this time in Stakes Company, the Flashy Lady Handicap by 5. A fourth straight sprint score in Allowance Company came on October 25th as Holly Dolly has put her name at the top of the list for season champion honors and maybe a Horse of the Meeting top honor. A 4-year-old bred in Kentucky, Holly Dolly is by Brody's Cause from the Archmare Pinch Me. She is perfect at Remington Park in her career. 7 starts, 5 wins, 2 seconds, and a perfect 4 for 4 so far this season. It took a little over 1 month, but jockey Harry Hernandez gets his 1,000th career victory after getting within 10 as October started. November 1st, race 1, R. Doc gets the job done for Hernandez. For R. Doc, it was his 4th straight win at Remington Park, and Harry Hernandez has ridden him 3 of those 4 times. Congratulations, Harry Hernandez, 1,000 North American wins. Into November now at Remington Park. The racing week continues Wednesday through Saturday, November 6th through November 9th. First race nightly at 6:30 p.m. Stakes racing action on Friday, November 8th. The 2-year-old Oklahoma Reds go in the Slideshow Stakes and also in the Don McNeil Stakes. Then older Oklahoma bred sprint in the Silver Goblin. At Remington Park in Oklahoma City, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sports Scene.
I'll be right back to let you know what's coming on next week on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Stay right there.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. The final evening of the season will feature horses trying to reach the 2025 Kentucky Derby by competing in the Springboard Mile. Remington Park's top 2-year-old stakes event of the year leads a stakes-filled program. The normal Remington Park racing week is Wednesday through Saturday, first race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Special Monday and Tuesday racing happens in late November at 2:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
Next week on Oklahoma Sports Scene, be sure to join us. We'll have a reaction to the 12 teams picked for the playoffs in the first go-round by the selection committee. Also have Chris Kaiser joining us, Executive Director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, to celebrate the 70th year of FCA. And we'll meet the junior hockey coach for the Tulsa Oilers. All that next week on 2 special guests on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Till then, as always, to remind you, be a good sport.